eventually, I think, what happens in the web because of the fragmentation and the fact that there's so many people that created huge audiences in others, you know, I mean, there's no Comcast box, and NBC and CBS and Scripps are not going to see the same audiences and the same scale they're seeing on TV. They're not going to see the same scale on the web. They lost the distribution. And if you look at their metrics, and you know, if you just go to Comscore and you compare the Nielsen numbers they get on TV and the Comscore numbers they get on the web, you would understand that regardless of the quality of their content, they lost 85% of their audiences because there's much more offering and there's many more people that can write, shoot the videos, and create, you know, good sites. So basically, if you'll go to the salespeople who needs to sell the inventory, they will tell you we need more inventory. And I think that one of the most encouraging things we're hearing in the video space from everyone across the board is we need more supply. Because the video space eventually got into the maturity and the advertisers want to come. They still don't want to buy UGC in scale, and I understand them. And there's a huge need for premium content in scale, and I think that besides Hulu at the moment, no one is able to supply that. And not only that no one is able to supply that, publishers will not be able to supply that only in their own destinations. So they have to syndicate.
You know, syndication has to be a part of your strategy if you're a video publisher. And the reason why is because if you're going to put as much production quality into your video as you need to be successful in today's video environment, you're not going to monetize that video on one property. You're just not. You're not going to have enough views. You know, CPMs out there. My personal opinion is the industry threw away the value of video 4 years ago because video was bundled into page-based deals, and they artificially lowered the CPMs down to a level that made it a blended CPM that made sense to advertisers at the time. That's something that a lot of us have seen change over the last year as advertisers have moved more over to quality metrics, so getting away from the CPM and getting closer to brand value, what's actually driving ROI, what's actually driving conversions to product, which means that pricing models are changing to engagement-based pricing models. So if you have quality distribution, and I define quality by where your video shows up, the experience that you can deliver for the advertiser in the context of that content, and you can do that at scale, then you can create individual experiences that have high value. And that is tremendously monetizable. So our effective CPMs are in the triple digits, mid-triple digits, if you look at it on a CPM basis. We never sell a CPM, ever, against our video. We only sell metrics that tie back to engagement. So I think, you know, the opportunity really is to be smart about what you're creating. You're creating an attention-getting experience from a consumer, and you're transferring that attention over to the advertiser. And the click rates and the measurement metrics are much better.
And one thing, hang on a second, Alan. One thing that's interesting about Raj and his business is that he does not have a YouTube channel. It's probably the only publisher, no, I don't know, which is very, very interesting because YouTube is great. I have my stuff on YouTube, although it's not my primary player. But it can dissipate the value through the search. I mean, why don't you have a YouTube channel?
Well, I mean, we look for very specific audiences. So, you know, we're generally looking for someone who may be a type 2 diabetic who's diagnosed and not treated. The fact that I have a YouTube channel is not going to necessarily generate those views, but it will take away from my overall advertising picture if I put all my content up on YouTube and all of a sudden it's devalued my whole value proposition. And that's changing in certain categories. So certainly as we deploy more content that's more sort of edutainment, we've got a show called Girl Talk, which is sort of like The View with an intervention on the back end. We've got a great health show that's launching that's more of a sort of a pantry makeover show where we go into people's houses and we redo their pantries, you know, so it's more wellness oriented. So that kind of content is going to do very well in more of a widely distributed entertainment kind of format. So that may live on YouTube and that may get syndicated through 5min and other players. So I think it really just depends on what you're trying to do.
YouTube allows certain publishers who have a certain amount of heft to basically sell their own ads into YouTube. They don't have to deal with what would be the run-of-the-mill network content, and that's what Alan does on this like massive scale. So
I want to disagree a little bit. I mean, I think syndication is valuable, but it's become less valuable And the reason I think it's become less valuable is because of the scale of Facebook, YouTube, iOS, and Android, and that's only going to get bigger. So when there was a problem of hundreds of thousands of websites out there and a lot of fragmentation, you know, it became more valuable. And I still think content syndication is valuable, but I would say if you're going to spend money, go get big on Facebook, go get big on YouTube, pay attention to Apple, and pay attention to Android, because those 4 platforms have, you know, billions and billions of dollars behind them, and they're moving at unbelievable rates. And if you think about iOS, there's 120 million devices out there already. There's 500 million uniques on Facebook and on YouTube. Those are internets unto themselves. And I think, you know, focusing there really brings you a strong value proposition. The second thing is that we think when you look at programming brands in the video space, and you think about kind of the television model of premium content, it's all about premium content. You know, what we see emerging in our model is really a combination of long tail and hit driven. And the long tail is incredibly important to drive scale and to drive deep penetration with your audience. So for example, when we ran a campaign for this game came out last year called Modern Warfare 2, we generated 150 million video views for them, but we had thousands of videos that were created by the actual users that were, when some of the folks actually saw it in the marketing campaign, they said we couldn't have paid for that kind of advertising. Here's a great user using their product, raving about the product, getting tons of views and tons of influence for that particular product at essentially zero cost. So I think that the programming model that really starts to make sense, and I think brands that get this are understanding by seeing the conversions that they're getting around UGC. I think if you ignore UGC, you do it at your own peril. I mean, obviously it depends on the type of UGC, but it is a huge opportunity